you could follow all these random people on the internet, and most of them haven't done anything. You know what I mean? They've just read a couple of newspapers or, echoing something else they've heard. So finding that person was really important. You kind of never know what the world's going to throw at you. And so we thought by having some cash on the balance sheet, it protected us a little bit from some of the, normal fluctuations in business. And it also allowed us to grow quicker and pursue our growth strategy in the way that we wanted to do. 10% of what we do is highly differentiated and where we spend all of our time, the squads. We hire a sports psychologist to ensure that individuals are getting integrated into their squads. They're staying, feeling welcome. They're staying. We spend a lot of money on our coaches. All of them have got 401k. They've all got health insurance. We really look after them there. So all this kind of stuff is our differentiation.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, John Franklin, going solo because my buddy Mateo Lopez is actually in New York, which is where our guest this week resides. And he is a repeat guest, so longtime fans of the show will recognize this friendly face. This will be appearance number 3, 4?
Number 3, mate.
Number 3.
Am I your most frequented guest, or is that on a go with someone else?
Cassie and Cassie's probably up there, and Dan
you love
Trink.
The Fort Boys. You love
Dan
the Fort
Trink
Boys.
is I go way back with Dan, and then Mark, of course, has been on quite a few times.
Right.
But yeah, you're definitely top 3. Top 3 would be my guess.
That's where I like to be. Great.
So yeah, for those who don't recognize this handsome face and his Alabama accent, this is Dane McCarthy of the Athletic Clubs. How you doing, man? Tell the people what the Athletic Clubs are before we get into this.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me, mate. I really appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of Kilo. We have been using you guys for 3 years now. We're just starting to take a peek under the cover of your new AI configurations, which is really exciting. So congrats to that. And
you can pitch anything you want on here now. There we go.
Man, I mean, I am being very genuine. It's been a real game changer for us. And Laurie, who's on your team, phenomenal. She's really looked after us. So
all right.
But
can't wait till all my competitors start trying to poach her. That's great. Thanks. Name out all the other good people.
I'll send her email out. So is anyone else looking there? Mindbody would love her, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly.
Jokes.
I think they have a referral program for staff too. It's great.
But we're the Athletic Clubs. We got started in 2020, just after COVID. And really the core differentiator of our business is that when someone joins one of our clubs, they join what we call a training squad. They train with the same people twice a week at a set time and with a dedicated coach. So for us, we really believe in the importance of creating connection amongst our members so that they have long-term consistency in their training. And we think that exercise is really the best vehicle for that connection, provided people are given the exposure to create those connections. So for us, it's that mere exposure of being around the same people twice a week with a dedicated coach that knows those people really is the magic for us. And that's where we spend all our time thinking and perfecting is around the squads.
And so when we had you on the first time, we talked about the gym and the things that we found interesting. And so for the listeners, number one, a lot of people are trying to target that Gen Z avatar and having difficulty doing it. You managed to just nail that. You can tell by the imaging and how some of your stuff is vertical that like those are the type of people you are targeting, and they're paying a premium price point, right? Like what's your monthly membership?
Yeah, the all-in is $299, and that gets you access to your squad sessions. And then on the alternative days, you're part of a run club. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you have a range of drop-in classes. That can be additional strength classes. They can be Metcons. We've also just started a new Sculpt series. So really, yeah, it's not cheap, but it's also per class, I think one of the most efficient ways to spend your money on wellness. Like we're still not, in the $50 per class, not even close to that range. So I would say we are really well priced, actually, John.
Yeah. So for a CrossFit gym, that'll sound premium. For a Barry's, that'll sound too cheap.
Yeah,
so
well put.
Kind of this hybrid price point, kind of a hybrid offering. So doing group, targeting a pretty interesting audience and doing it in an interesting way with these squads where you commit to working out at certain times, which makes capacity a little easier. Honestly, there are definitely a lot of operational things that makes the model pretty interesting and efficient. So go listen to that first episode if you want to breaking the model a little more, because we're not going to do that here. The reason we got you on is to talk about your strategy and your expansion plans, because we just found out that you got $3.5 million to scale your and a lot of times people say congratulations. I'm not really like and congratulations, but like when you raise money, now the hard part starts. Kind of like buckle up is probably the right word I should be telling you. But this is unique. This is interesting. Not a lot of people take on money to expand a bunch of locations, especially this early on. Talk to me about was this all part of a master plan when you started your gym, or is this something that evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really lucky to have had the guidance of Anne Mallam, who started and sold Solid Core. So we're really following a blueprint that she put together that's really tried and tested. So for us, we've got a lot of conviction in our model. We genuinely want to have 2,000 squads by 2030, because we think when people train this way, it impacts not just their physical outcomes, but their mental, their social, their personal. And so we've got that really as our top line goal. And to get there, we want it to be well capitalized. You kind of never know what the world's going to throw at you. And so we thought by having some cash on the balance sheet, it protected us a little bit from some of the, normal fluctuations in business. And it also allowed us to grow quicker and pursue our growth strategy in the way that we wanted to do it. Not to mention, it means that we have someone like Anne, who's, a seasoned vet who knows this space really well. She has skin in the game, and she's now on our board. She's really involved. And so for us, that was equally as important as the cash.
It was interesting when she wasn't like as public of a personality the first time you came on. So we talked about her the first time, and I don't know, that was maybe 2 years ago. And now she's like blown up. She's this huge kind of like public persona, and everybody knows who she is. So, early to the trend. Way to go.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I've been friends with her for a long time. I cold emailed her and cold called her a number of times to get a hold of her. I ended up used one of those intro apps. What a time to be alive that we can do that, by the way. You pay a little bit of cash, you get in front of someone who's done what you're trying to do before. So she was gracious enough to give me up some of her time there, and we developed a relationship. But that's been transformational for us. She's just knows her way around the park. She's been able to show us where the kind of bodies are buried and help us kind of navigate brick and mortar, because a lot of your listeners understand this. Like we've taken a challenging path. We haven't pursued influencer training, where you've got no capex, low risk, you can get huge exposure across the globe. Like we're taking a hard path, but I think we're doing it in pursuit of a really exciting outcome, which is you get to be the staple of a community. You get to be that brick and mortar on the corner. Everyone knows you. Everyone knows your members. So for that, you just need more capital. And so we decided to raise, and we're really happy that we did.
So you're at 5 open now, correct?
5 open now. We're just about to open Lower East Side, which will happen, within the next 2 weeks. And then we've got 2 or 3 other ones coming online, in next year.
Okay, so that's 6, 7, 8. So you bootstrapped your way to 8.
Yeah, that's right. Bootstrapped your way to 8. I mean, and that,
2 years, right? 3 years. 3 years.
Three and a bit.
You started COVID.
Yeah, we started. So 2021 is when we really started going and expanding. So yeah, it's been. I'm so happy we did it that way. One, it kept a lot of the negotiation chips on our side. You know what I mean? We get to maintain a lot of the ownership and a lot of control, or all of the control, in fact, because we didn't raise at a point where we had no revenue or we only had one gym. And it's also got us to be really disciplined. Like I have an incredible team of operators, Matt Johnson and Jess Lay, just being some of them, and they've become really good at being efficient with capital. So I think if we hadn't done that and we'd raised before we did the 6 gyms, we'd be a bit reckless with cash. Right now, I can't see ourselves getting through that too quickly.
Yeah, this is what Ann said. She said the athletic clubs have everything I look for in an investment: a top-notch founder who knows how to execute and delegate, consistent unit economics, simplicity in operations, financial prudence and scalability, and lastly, a community so sticky that you need a new word for it. I like all those things too. That's a good way to put it. So you get to 8, no money. Why take money? What was the reason? Obviously, you get Ann on your team, which is awesome, but there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got really good in New York of like building relationships with landlords, with finding second generation spaces, developing good relationships with brokers. That's taken 4 years to be able to get the like lease flow or deal flow for our new locations. Going into a new market, which is where we really think we need to like prove this concept. Annoyingly, everyone's like, "Oh, this only works in New York." I think you guys called us on the first episode of Gen Z New York brand, and so we're doing our best to like demonstrate that squad training is a universal thing and think that people will get interested in. So we want to prove it in another tier one, tier two, a tier three kind of market. And for that, we need capital because we've got to do it properly. Like you can't do community half-hearted, and you certainly can't swagger into a neighborhood thinking it's going to work. That's already got established brands, established gyms, established people there. So we really needed some of the firepower behind us.
So you're looking, it says this is going to get you to about 15 locations. Does that sound right?
That's right. I mean, we are growing unapologetically just because we have that mission of 2,000 squads. That said, we've also been stealing from Pete to pay Bob for 4 years, so we think by year 6, we want to have that all really ironed out. So that the experience for our existing members isn't impacted because of our growth. That's another thing I think that people who decide to bootstrap for a really long time have to think about as a discount, that they're going to start impacting their existing members. So we wanted to keep that experience really great for our current members while growing. So yeah, 15 by the end of next year while delivering a really strong experience for our existing members.
So is the plan to just implant in another city and open 8 or 9 in that city, or is it just going to be scattershot from here on out, like wherever the lease flow takes you?
Yeah, honestly, like our strong preference would be able to find some of these incredible community gyms and community operators in neighborhoods and have a genuine conversation about either partnering or, taking over their lease or buying their businesses. We're really in the mode of like, let's partner and build on top of great communities that have already been there. We're not really interested in coming into a new community and trying to blow it up with our concept with capital. We really want to try and partner. So if there's anyone out there listening who maybe is in a sticky lease they don't want to be in anymore, we'd love to speak to you. If you've got a great community gym in a neighborhood on the Eastern Seaboard, we would love to speak to you. So yeah, that's one way we would love to do it. Otherwise, it would be finding good leases in good neighborhoods where we know our members are.
Hey gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com.
So tell us what type of cities and what type of spaces you're looking for, so maybe somebody out there knows they're the right fit or not.
Yeah, great. I mean, would love any space that's, between 1,500 and 2,500 square foot. 2,500 square foot, we can get 2 studios in. We can be really efficient there. We need ceilings to be at least 10 foot high. We need it to be in an area where there is a young population, 25 to 35, or people can travel there. And we're not taking any leases that exceed 15,000 a month. That starts getting a little too pricey for us. So that's kind of the sweet spot for us. And ideally, if you've already got an established community, we're not here to rip anyone off. We would love to reward you for what you've done in building that community. And so we're not just looking for leases. We're looking to speak to people who may be looking to take some liquidation and move on.
Just based off of my conversations on Gym World, I would point you towards Charleston. There's a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but we talked to a handful of gym owners who are targeting Gen Z and absolutely crushing it in that city. I am long overdue for a trip over there to see what's going on, but there is just a disproportionately large amount of like just absolutely crushing it gym owners and concepts out in Charleston. So something in the water out there. So
yeah, I mean, that's an
crowd, hook Dane up.
Yeah, that's an intimidating one. We know some really good operator out there, Ethos Gym. Those guys are crushing it. Like I went in there and was like, wow, these guys have got it wrapped up. They've done community, they've got strength, they've got everything. They are absolutely crushed. Did you ever get to speak to those guys?
Joey was on the podcast. Thank you for the
Yeah,
intro.
yeah. No, he's a really lovely guy. Their whole team is awesome. I don't know what they're doing culture wise, but they're just salt of the earth, good people like that. Those are the kind of people that we just love being around. Living in New York, I love traveling because you just you get reminded that not everyone's a private equity or Wall Street guy or girl. There's some normal people with really good businesses doing really cool things in their communities. So yeah, absolutely love those guys.
He was one of those guys where it was like he really undersold how easy it was. He was just like, oh yeah, I just kind of opened the gym and it got bigger and whatever. So the core four guys, those are the other guys that are just
Yeah, you
absolutely
mentioned
crushing
them. Yeah.
just ripping it up out there. All right, so if you got a gym, boutique, it sounds like in a city with some young people that have $300 a month in disposable income, Dane wants to buy your business. Hit him up. Where are they finding you?
Yeah, they're finding me at Dane at athleticlubsgroup.com or on my Instagram, McCarthy Dane.
Cool. And if you're selling any type of B2B service, be sure to spam Dane.
That the volume of that's definitely picked up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you raise the money, you think a better expansion plan instead of just going and trying to rebuild the brand is finding something that's got a little traction, taking that over and maybe doing some type of rebrand or a partnership. Let's talk about like what that process of raising money was like, because not a lot of people do it. Let's say you're another gym owner out there, you're 4 or 5 locations, you really want to blow the lid off this thing, prioritize growth. Talk to me about how you figured out how much money you need or want and what that whole process was like.
Yeah, I think number one, it started with seeking advice from someone who'd done what I wanted to do before. Anne cops a lot of flack in media, but she is one of those people that just from following her social media page, I realized that, she cares more deeply about her employees than I thought that I'd seen any other entrepreneur. Like the amount she fought to ensure that her employees got paid for the work that they did really impressed me. So that was number one, just the way she spoke about her employees and her members. Then also just she knows business so well. Like she was talking about margins and being disciplined on margins more than any other person that I was following. So the first part of the successful raise was identifying someone that I thought, I could model our business over and get advice from. I never thought that I would end up raising from Anne, but I did know that, I'd be able to get some really good advice from her that would be relevant to people who do deploy capital, because she was just speaking so much from the perspective of multiple stakeholders, investors, employees, members. So that was the first step, but just like seeking advice and getting advice from people who've done it before. I really do think there's like you could follow all these random people on the internet and most of them haven't done anything. You know what I mean? They've just read a couple of newspapers or, echoing something else they've heard. So finding that person was really important. And then, that relationship developed quite organically. I'd ask Anne for really specific questions. She was kind enough to give those to me. And as a result, she started getting a peek into our business and learning more and more about what we were doing, what we were using capital for, how we were growing. So that long-term relationship made it really easy. In fact, about a year and a half ago, we took a very small debt facility from her. Not because we needed it, more because I thought it was another great way to get her involved and have skin in the game and look a little deeper. So that then, opened up our book. She got really more invested. And then over time, as I said to her, look, I'm thinking about raising, she kind of knew everything. She'd kind of seen everything. She'd tested it. She'd done the workout. She'd been involved. She'd seen our numbers in full transparency, not like, numbers that you just project during a raise. She'd seen all the warts and all part of that. And then, and so then when we came to raising, she was obviously a really good candidate to be the lead, and she was gracious enough to do that. So she took the lead. And then once she did, you find all these other people come out of the woodwork. A lot of the institutional people get really interested when they see someone of that stature being involved. So we had lots and lots of conversations with institutional investors. In the end, we ended up going with a syndicate of our current members and some high net worths in our membership base. We really like that because just like Anne, they know exactly what we're trying to do. So I think to close this ramble out, I would say it's get people involved early, be very transparent about what you are and what you're not in your numbers, and then look for advocates who fully understand your brand. That was our approach.
And did you do like a deck and sitting everybody down for dinner and all that the whole dog and pony show, like, or was it a little more informal since Anne obviously looked like if she saw your books, whatever, like same thing with members. I remember when we were operating, you get asked, once a month, or I was getting asked once a month probably, hey, do you want money to build more of these things? Did you fluff it all up and make it look nice and put a bow on it, or was it more like, hey, this is what I'm looking to raise and these are the unit economics, and kind of doing handshake deals that way?
Yeah, like Anne was my preference the whole way through, but we obviously didn't want her to be, didn't have to be just relying on that. So we did the whole, go speak to a whole lot of investors. We pitched multiple private equity firms, VC firms, we had high net worth, we had family offices. That was such a good experience because a lot of these private equity firms, I think they get a bad rap, but in the end, they just want a successful founder and a successful concept. And so we were able to say to some of them, hey, we're probably a bit too small for you, but we would love to get some benchmarks from you. You're seeing businesses like this all the time. Like, what's good? What is good retention? What's good NPS? Like, what kind of LTV, lifetime value, should we be working towards? And they were really forthcoming in advice around that. So using that process to pitch and also learn was super helpful. So yeah, we had a full deck. We've got that. I'm happy to send that to anyone who's interested in seeing it. Really cool process. Really enjoyed it, honestly. A shout out particularly to some of those insto investors. Like L. Catterson was really great to us. They provided a lot of information to help. Yeah, so it was great.
And you still have your day job, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in the financial world. Who helped you build this thing, or did you just?
Yeah, I mean, we live in such a great time. Like ChatGPT gets you 90% of the way, and then you just add your flavor. Like it's really not hard anymore. So that was all kind of done with a combination of ChatGPT and a bit of imagination. Canva as well. Shout out to an Australian brand.
Canva and Chat. That's your team.
Canva and Chat. That's it. But I do have my full-time job, and I love my full-time job. It's been such a blessing because it's forced me to hire people well ahead of when we should have. So as part of this raise, we just brought on Mike Abrahamson, who is formerly Exponential, who's got a lot of experience in scaling. We're really excited because once again, I looked at our business and I was like, am I the best person to take us to the next level? And I'm probably not. So we found a guy through an extensive interview process that we really feel strongly about taking us to that next level.
Yeah, it looked like he was at D1 before that for a while. They had a bunch of locations, then Exponential. Was this a recruiter or one of your investors give you like a warm intro here?
Yeah, I mean, the investors said two things. They're like, get someone in there who's done this before and get to another city. So we kind of knew we needed to kind of get this going as soon as possible. This came actually through a really lovely guy called Narvin, who is helping us on the real estate side a little bit. He had a connection and it came that way organically. We do have an internal HR function, Natalie, who's incredible. She then did some outreach to a number of executives that we thought would be aligned to what we were trying to do. So it was actually a really extensive process. That was honestly harder than the raise because that's where you get nervous. You could really screw it up with a bad hire. So that was probably more time consuming and extensive than the raise, if I'm being honest.
C-level hire too, it's expensive and it's, someone who's going to set culture. So I totally understand that.
I mean, I was negotiating with Mike, our new CEO, and he's a trained lawyer, like legal lawyer. And I'm sitting there, look with his contract, our attorney's notes, the document, and then ChatGPT just sweating it, trying not to screw up his negotiation. But
hey,
we got there in the end.
You got Chat. Everyone's a lawyer now.
Exactly. That's what I kept telling the lawyers. They didn't seem to be too happy about that.
Everybody's a lawyer. So you talked about how talking with these PE firms was helpful because you got some good data on the industry in terms of benchmarks that you can aim towards to be interesting to institutional money. Can you share any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're really excited about for our business is we know that, a best-in-class boutique fitness studio is retaining, about 60 to 70% of their members, after month 12. Sorry, about 40 to 45% after month 12. They're losing about half of the people that come in on day one in month 12. We were well and truly above that because of our model. So that was a really helpful one just to validate the model. It's well and good to tell the story and be like, squads create connection and create retention, but to see that printed as a benchmark was really good. And then there's just some basic business fundamentals. Like you need to have four-wall EBITDA margins that are, in excess of 30%. And if you want to be best in class, you want to be touching 50%. I mean, again, all of this stuff is you can find on ChatGPT. There's nothing exclusive here, but I think the private equity firms are particularly disciplined in identifying businesses that are doing that and can do it on a recurring basis.
Got it. So that comes out to a monthly churn around 5.5%, which is on the boutique side of things, that sounds pretty hard. And then 30% EBITDA. So if you're generating $1 million in top line, you need to have 300,000 before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Is that right?
That's right. And the other thing, I just speaking to a lot of founders throughout this process, not just in fitness, but in cafes and in beauty, or all sorts of four-wall concepts. I got really nervous about debt. We've tried to steer away from it where we can. You can't go bankrupt unless you owe the bank something. You owe someone something. So that's why we thought the equity raise was important, because we didn't want to just start loading ourselves up with debt, because it starts restricting your ability to innovate and get creative with different ways to deliver your product. If we want to experiment with something, it doesn't work, we've got that leeway to do it. But if we've got these covenants, or that we have to make a debt repayment at a certain amount every single month, makes it really hard to adjust your product to be what your customers need on the fly. So we stayed away from debt. That's not to say you shouldn't. I mean, some people just have a better risk tolerance than I do, but that was quite scary to us to be loading these up on four-wall concepts.
Especially when you're moving so fast. I get it if you're somebody who's, your concept's been around for 15 years, but yeah, you want to be able to dance. All right. So we get to 15. You said the goal is 2,000 squads by, did you say 2030?
2030, yep.
How many squads in the gym?
We're about 12 squads. So the way we're thinking about that is we think if we can get to 100 locations by 2015, we should be at our goal there. And to do that, we need to double every year, which we've done. And so that's easy to do, to go 1 to 2 and be like, yeah, we doubled. And even 2 to 4, you're like, cool, we doubled. When you start going 4 to 8, 8 to 16, things get a lot harder. So that's why we wanted, some people have done this before, like Anne, and a bit of capital to make it work.
Yeah, just the real estate, just the amount of looking at spaces, leases, and all the negotiation. God, that's got to be exhausting. At least a full-time job, at least one person's full-time job.
That's the way I realized. For our business, 10% of what we do is highly differentiated and where we spend all of our time. The squads. We hire a sports psychologist to ensure that individuals are getting integrated into their squads. They're staying, feeling welcome. They're staying. We spend a lot of money on our coaches. All of them have got 401k. They've all got health insurance. We really look after them there. So all this kind of stuff is our differentiation. There's about 90% of our business, which is just stock standard retail brick and mortar, that's been done before. And what we found is that we were just reinventing the wheel. We're like, how are we going to go to LOI? How are we going to get new spaces? Where do we get a pipeline? And I was just butting my head against the wall, trying to be a professional in something that I'm not. That's why we're really excited about Mike, because he's done this before. Expo, say what you will about that brand. They did do a very good job at real estate and being very, very efficient with four-wall concepts. Their understanding of revenue per square foot is probably the best in the nation, and their ability to get leases in great areas is also really effective.
Yeah, and he probably has the pipeline.
Totally. Yeah,
he knows some people.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and so you got the 3.5. That's your next double. It sounds like. Yep. And so is the plan to raise every single year, or are you trying to get to a point where you're interesting to institutions and bite off a big one that you can operate for, 3 to 5 years on?
Yeah, I think we would want to do one, if we can hit our goals and we maintain the member experience that we want. We're doing community, we're scaling community, which is hard. And so we're going to look up in a year, end of 2026, if we've got to where we want to be and our membership group has stayed the same and we haven't diluted that experience, then we'll probably raise again and go for another go. But we're just being really pragmatic. If we get to the end of next year and we realize that we're starting to dilute that community feel, yeah, we'll pump the brakes. No one's trying to there's no churn and burn. There's no trying to big exit plan where I'm trying to make $1 billion in 3 years or anything like that. It's just not out the vibe of our gyms. We really are doing this to create squads for people.
So you don't necessarily have like we're going to get to this and try and sell, or how are you thinking about that? Because once you take the money, you got to grow, right? Like you're no turning back at this point. You gotta start opening some spaces.
Yeah, I mean, we're like I said, we're unapologetically growing because we've got such a strong mission. I read this incredible book, highly recommend, called Built to Sell. And the whole idea of the book, despite its namesake, is that if you build an incredible business for it to be sold, you'll have an incredible business, regardless of whether you decide to sell or not. Because all the things you need to do to get someone to actually purchase your business are really good business fundamentals. You need to have you can't have key person risk where everything's relying on one person. You can't have all of your training and everything done sporadically and have these weird kind of knowledge bases in one person's head. So if you do everything to build a business so someone would actually want to buy it, you're going to have a great business. So we see, and I'm sure you feel the same way, John, like just create a really good bloody business. And if you do that, then you've got optionality. But at this point, there's no interest in selling. We just want to keep growing.
I love that book. I'm right there with you. Anyone who's like a E-Myth fanboy, I always steer them to Built to Sell, because I don't know, for whatever reason that resonated a lot more with me and made a ton of sense.
And we also care about sustainability. Like, I think we do get a lot of, like, obviously our members don't love it if we do a price increase or if we make some decisions about growth, but you've got to understand, like, for us to deliver the experience and to be around for a really long time, we have to be hyper focused on margin. Like, we have to be a business. So we're not doing this to be a charity, because if we were, we'd be under right now. So yeah, we're really focused on being a great business, because that's the best way for us to deliver a product to our members that they're going to love.
So you mentioned you got a full-time job. You got a COO now, or president. Was that the official title?
Yeah, president and COO.
So what do you see your role as in this next phase? Like, how are you thinking about the next year? What do you need to be doing to, get to where you need to go?
It's a great question. I think this is like a really exciting point for us, because I've always enjoyed most just training in my squad and spending time in the community. So I just want to be my full-time job to just be like quality assurance, you know what I mean? Going and doing workouts with the community, advocating for squad training like I'm doing now, like really speaking to its value. But most importantly, just ensuring that we don't steer off course away from our mission and for delivering, that awesome experience for our members.
So your job, your culture, sounds like. That's me reading in between
absolutely.
the lines.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool, man. Well,
just like you did, like John, because what was your plan? You hired a CEO. Like, where do you see your role?
I got a job too. I'm running the same playbook. You and me are the same. I can't get deported though, so that's.
Can you relax on the deported? Either can I. I'm fully certified to be in this country legally. Thanks.
It's a weird time, I don't know. So yeah, we're getting up on the half hour. No, you're a busy man now that you got millions in the bank account. Let's make the pitch one more time. What are you looking for? People listening who can, who have a business, give me the criteria one more time. And
I really appreciate that, John. Yeah, we're looking for community-based gyms that have a strong community of over 100 members in a location that has over 10-foot ceilings, up to 2,500 square foot in total space, is in an area that has a demographic of people 25 to 35. That's our real sweet spot. But we'll also look at anything, because we just love speaking to people out there who've got gyms and communities. So flood my inbox, regardless if you're in or out of there, like by a couple square footage or whatever. But before you cut me off, John, I do actually want to advocate for Kilo. You guys have changed the game for us. Like, we've been able to systematize our full onboarding process in a way that we weren't able to do with other systems. And what you're doing with AI is really going to help us ensure that our coaches are just spending time with members, focusing on squads, not, fliffy-faffing around in technology. So massive advocate of Kilo, and really appreciate you guys' continued support.
We're huge fans, and highly offended we didn't see the deck. So I'm going to email you, ask to see it. So
yeah, next round, mate, you're all in.
Next raise, put us on your list. Maybe we can save you a little bit on those fees. As the club count grows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we just on the fees that we've paid you, we probably could have got a pretty good valuation.
There we go. That's I think they call that synergies in the business world.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Dane, it's always a pleasure, never a chore. I'm sure we will have you on a fourth, fifth, sixth time as you continue to execute on this plan. And I'm just happy I found you early and knew you before you were famous. So
You're the man, John. Likewise. I really appreciate it.
all right, man. Talk to you later.
Talk soon, mate. Bye.